it's Kathy Kress again, and I am doing my YouTube channel, Geriatric Care 1, and we are now doing should an adult child consider having their aging parent move in with them? Should an aging parent consider moving in with their adult child? And how a geriatric care manager can help you. And we're going to cover functional needs now, because the geriatric care manager always does psychosocial, which I did in the last segment, and they do functional. So what you have to look at, I mean, there's actually two stages to aging. And one is baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer, very active, up until about 85 actually. Travel, do a lot of things. So your aging parent might want to move in when they're in that stage, because it may be financial. They're not really traveling all over the world. They can't afford it. And they may have severe arthritis, but they're only 70. But you know, they're young still. The second stage is after 85, and that's when the decrements of age really do catch up with them, and and an older person needs much more care. So you're looking at a whole continuum, and basically you have to look at that before you move an older person in, and the older person decides to move in, because do you want to change adult diapers as the adult child? And that's an easy way to say this. Non-medical needs are what older people usually need in the first stage. You know, maybe they can't drive to appointments because they have macular degeneration. Perhaps they, you know, don't feel safe cooking anymore. They're only cooking for once. They're not eating well. You know, and moving in really does help an older person in that stage. Household tasks. So all of that can be taken care of in the first stage. But when you get to medical needs, which is the second stage, using a Hoyer lift because they may be bedbound, turning them on a regular basis, giving injections, because adult children actually can do a whole lot of things that a home health aide can't even do, which means they can give injections. Do you feel comfortable doing that? You know, giving enemas. And I'm not trying to say the worst of all possible things, but an adult child can do a lot. And you know, the diaper, changing an adult diaper, especially if you're a man, is something you really, really need to consider. Do you feel, you know, comfortable in doing that, helping with ambulation? And again, I know this because my dad lived with me through all of those stages. I did not feel comfortable changing his diapers on a girl, and my husband did. And so, you know, we worked it out. It was really easy, but even I did not foresee that, because I was being subjective. And so what the geriatric care manager has to do is assess the family caregiver, which means, you know, really just talking about all these stages, and do you feel comfortable at this stage in, you know, when your parent is bedbound and needs care? How will you handle that? Just reminding them that. And especially if the adult child works, who's going to take care of the older person during the day? And this is where, you know, figuring out adult daycare. I had something called Cindy Celebrations, took care of my father and my mother-in-law during the day, and it was fabulous. There was this, you know, they came in a van, they played Glenn Miller, they drove them to lunch to these great restaurants all over Santa Cruz. My dad was the co-pilot who was sat in the front. He loved the place, and he was not a social guy. And my mother-in-law loved it as well. So it doesn't have to be adult daycare the way you think it has to be, but adult social daycare. So that could be sibling support, where your siblings, you know, take them places during the day, go out to lunch, joining a senior center, all the things that a geriatric care manager can really help you figure out in your community. And back to financials, can they afford it? Can the older person really afford Cindy Celebrations? And so you need to look into that at the beginning, because your older person, your older family member watching television all day is not the best choice about moving in. Maybe assisted living would be better in that case if they can afford it. You know, assessing the caregiver means assessing your ability I mean, do you have a bad back? Can you lift? You know, when your parent needs all this care, care providers lift more than truck drivers. And they end up in hospitals a lot over that. There's lifting protocol. So, you know, can you give needles? I mentioned that before. Are you comfortable with essentially nursing care? Because you can do it as an adult child. And home health aides in many cases can't do it. And do you find this kind of care repulsive? A lot of caregivers really do. A lot, you know, I mean, there are just some things, like I did not, even with my children, I had 2 husbands, and they both could, you know, deal with blood gushing out of the kids and all those wounds. It just always made me uncomfortable. They'd put all the Band-Aids and fix everything. And when it came to my dad, I felt just as uncomfortable. It was something I didn't feel comfortable with. What's your comfort level? And you need to know that ahead of time, not at the end. So we will see you next time. Go to my website, kathycrest.com, and we will be doing the 5th segment next time.